Lasers sound like the stuff of science fiction, right? Sound completely unbelievable. How could our military possibly be using those in future warfare? Guess what? We've just had a recent breakthrough, more great test results that are making lasers a reality. So it's called Athena. Lockheed Martin makes it, and they've been doing a lot of the pioneering in this laser field. Now, what's really exciting about it is that it's so hard to harness that much power and make it compact enough that it's actually going to make practical sense downrange. And they've proven that they can do that. Recently, they tested it against 5 moving drones, so realistic drones that they might go up against with, enemy forces might send against us, for example, or terrorists might send against us. And it successfully shot down all 5 of the drones. This is huge news because it means that in a realistic, practical setting, it's looking very promising. So it could be ready to field quite soon. So when you see the movies or you look at comic books or television shows, when you see the laser weapons, they tend to be a color, right? Red or green or something like that. Real lasers, one of the key advantages that they provide is that they are invisible. You actually can't see them. You just see this damage suddenly starting to blow something up. So if we take a look now at what the Athena did to a truck. So we're looking at a truck engine, and the Athena within seconds was able to beam right in there, heat the whole thing up, and burn through the engine of this vehicle. So if you can imagine if you were in that vehicle, all of a sudden, this hole would start appearing in your engine, and the whole thing would just disappear.
Those who live in the Willow Creek Ranch estates were allowed back today, and while no homes were destroyed, there were some buildings and vehicles that were, so it is affecting things there.
We're learning that scientists and researchers are looking at how to change the weather on purpose. That's right. Lasers now could one day manipulate rain and lightning. CBS This Morning contributor Michio Kaku is a physics professor at City College of New York. Professor, nice to see you. Lasers, really, to change the weather?
That's right. Well, as Mark Twain once famously said, everyone complains about the weather, but no one ever does anything about it. Well, instead of doing a rain dance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts. This is potentially a game changer.
But this is experimental.
It's experimental. However, in the laboratory so far it works. When you have water vapor and you have dust particles or ice crystals, you can precipitate rain. It condenses around the seeds. These seeds can also be created by laser beams. By firing trillion-watt lasers, you rip apart the electrons, creating what are called ions, and these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning. Even in the 60s, the CIA used this to bring down monsoons during the Vietnam War, to wash out the Viet Cong. Even in the 60s, the CIA used this to bring down monsoons during the Vietnam War, to wash out the Viet Cong. Governments have been playing with this thing.
Alleged to.
Alleged to, right.
Yeah.
Now, we realize that for decades now, these governments have been alleged to have experimented with weather control, but nothing conclusive. This time we're bringing in the laws of physics rather than simply waving our hands and uttering mumbo jumbo. We're actually using trillion-watt lasers now. And in the laboratory, sure enough, they precipitate rain out of water vapor. Sure enough, you can actually bring down electricity down the beam.
So what does it mean for drought areas that need to have rain for crops, and if they don't have them, there's the consequences of famine?
Well, the bad news is if it's a clear blue sky, it's not going to do anything at all because it only takes water vapor that's already in the air and condenses it. However, for floods, for agriculture, farmers, for people planning wedding parties, football games, you name it, outdoor events and agriculture and flooding and even hurricanes, all of them could be subject to weather modification.
Incredibly interesting, Professor Michio Kaku.
So everything is being weaponized. This is from January 5th, 2016. U.S. Army looks to strike foes with lightning weapon. And again, they've had this for decades. When you hear about it and say they're going to use it, they've been using it. A U.S. Army lab is testing how lasers create an energized plasma channel in the air and an invisible pathway for electricity to flow. The laser-guided lightning weapon could precisely hit targets such as enemy tanks or unexploded roadside bombs or neighborhoods in Santa Rosa, California. Army researchers used a, quote, ultra-short pulse laser of modest energy, end quote, that keeps the laser beam focused through its own intensity electromagnetic field, can harvest electrons from air molecules to create the plasma pathway for electricity to follow. Again, they've had this technology for quite some time. Okay, this is from a site, Black Project's directedenergyweapons.net. And for anybody that thinks that they don't have directed energy weapons, they're not using them, this is for you. I'm going to go through these different torture devices, energy devices, mind control devices, voice to skull devices, having a camera in your eye devices, all used patents. Look at the dates way back when, over 2 decades ago, 3 decades ago, they developed these weapons. So let's go through these. Method and device for producing a desired brain state, 2012. Pulsative manipulation of nervous systems, August 31st, 1998. Multifunctional radio frequency directed energy system, 2005. The RFID system, radio frequency directed energy system transmitter, and at least in one antenna. In the transmitter and antenna, direct high energy power electromagnetic energy towards a target sufficient to cause high energy damage or disruption of the target.
Red or green or something like that. Real lasers, one of the key advantages that they provide is that they are invisible. You actually can't see.
So that was in Hamburg, Germany, around the G20 meetings, apparently, as far as I can tell. And again, it's the guys in black, no identification. They're under the anti-fascist action team, blah, blah, blah. I chronicled how this was all a controlled opposition agent provocateur that was created. I showed in Berkeley how they're building this thing out from over 2 years ago and using it. And you can see here they're blaming them on the fires when it was directed energy weapons.
Ja, mich schreiben. Man weiß doch gleich, wer das ist, ne? Der Mobilhani.
So this is in comments over the California fires that are ongoing here in record numbers. As someone who has been fighting fires in California for 30 years, I would submit a different version. Before humans harnessed fire, it only came in the form of lightning that would cause fires. The fires would smolder and burn intensely and smolder again until rain came and put them out. With regard to firefighting strategies, we have just experienced 3 fires in Northern California that burned 15,000, 92,000, and 34,000 acres respectively. Find me a time in modern history where that has occurred. In my 30 years and the people came before me, it is ground shaking in our industry. Fire season is longer for us than it has ever been and more intense than it has ever been. In 2017, we had one of the wettest on record. The Middle Fork, the Feather River drainage received over 80 inches of rain in areas. In early August, the Ponderosa Fire made 1,500 sustained crown run. How after a winter like that? Our climate has and is changing. Now, this is where it gets interesting. This is the firefighter's mentality. It does not matter what version you subscribe to is how it happened, but it has changed. Bullshit. It matters greatly how it has changed because they're using electronic directed energy weaponry. This is the cognitive dissonance of most firemen who putting their lives on the line and don't even know what the F they're getting into. I'm going to go around to the fire departments after this, and I'm going to show them and talk to them and try and protect their lives because they will not understand, they will not learn, they will not try and comprehend that we are under attack with directed energy weapons all around the world. Our strategies have not changed in 2 or 3 main drivers of wildfires: fuel and the weather. On both the county and Pawnee fires, the fire was able to chew through freshly laid retardant quickly. Think about that. So they've had the retardant that has put out fires before, no problem. Yay, it works. And now what he's saying is these fires just chewed through the retardant, chewed through it. Didn't stop the fires, folks. We're dealing with a different entity here. Wake up, firemen. Wake the heck up. It's your lives on the line, and you're protecting us. You need to know what's going on. The data does not lie. We are trending at all-time lows of fuel moistures, and even when our RH increased, the low fuel moistures mitigated that change, and the fires burned aggressively at night. At night, it's cooler, less winds, da-da-da-da, and the fires are burning aggressively at night. Again, things they have not seen. The new usual. The county fire burned in and through 3 different large burn scars, the Rag, Monticello, and Rumsey, and it did not slow down. So there was already large burn fire scars, and it burned quickly through these 3 different areas and did not slow down and burned over 20,000 acres in the first 24 hours. So that means grass that was mowed low, scarred because of previous fires, not any fuel. He's saying it's going through 20,000 acres in 24 hours over already area that didn't have any fuel with it. This is the new technology, folks. The Pawnee fire burned into the burned scar of the Walker and Rocky fire and did not slow down. And he puts, why? This is 30 years of experience in the fire department, folks. Because the fuels have changed. The grass and brush that have replaced the previous fuels is ripe to carry fire. Bullshit. It's because of directed energy weapons, sir. Wake the heck up. It's your life on the line. You need to inform others. All right, and one thing that the last 6 years have proven, you don't need to live in the forest to have a forest fire affect you. Yeah, I'm in downtown Santa Rosa, and I can attest to that statement.
Now, do you see that very defined line right there? That's not a wildfire. That looks like it was hit with a laser. Fire on the left, no fire on the right. Common sense should at least beg questions in people's minds when they see what I'm showing you right now. Really, this is a wildfire. You know, I already, on the videos that I've posted on these fires, I already have people commenting, the do deniers commenting, leaving comments.
So I want to give a big shout out to the lady at In Truth by Grace, who was the original ones that got me alerted to the directed energy weapons and this term, the term do deniers. This is Cardinal Newman Catholic School here in Santa Rosa. Look at the laser guided precision, folks. It cannot be denied. During the fires last October here in California, again, how surgically precision they use these directed energy weapons to burn out the homes and leave the trees, eucalyptus trees. This is from San Diego, actually. Eucalyptus trees catch fire by breathing on them. Look at the demarcation line. One home completely torched. Maybe it had a smart meter, maybe it didn't. But you just see it over and over again. Why certain areas were spared. How could it only hit this area and not touch this? It goes over and over again, and we need to be relentless on this. We need to speak our truth on this. We need to not let this stuff go down without bringing awareness to as many people as we can that we're under attack from technology from above that can flip on its roof 3,000-pound cars and take a Kmart, have the embers go across 6 lanes of a freeway and torch 100,000 square foot Kmart down to the ground, but leave the trees standing. This is our world today, folks. We need to wake the heck up. And one thing I keep reminding everybody, if this is what's happening today, what are they going to do next? We're seeing increased intense fires and hurricanes, admitted use of lasers to manipulate them all. All right, Plain Truth out. We're going to stay on this, and please say some prayers, speak out, and share this with all your fire departments. Take it to them and teach them and school them, please. It's their lives too. They are our first responders. They're putting their lives on the line. They have families too. And even if they don't hear you, if you speak it, they will hear you. You can't unhear them. At least you can try and educate, inform them, and protect them and give them better understanding when they go into these fires and clearly not understanding what they're dealing with. But please try. They all need to be educated to understand. All right, we'll catch you next video. Thanks. Peace. Love one another always.